Greetings, YouTube. I hope you, this is 3coursethoughts here. Hope you guys are having a good day or night. Hope everything's going positive and going well for you. Today, I'm going to be doing a video on the key element between truth and lies. So, as you can see in this picture, nothing is stranger than the truth. That's going to be very relevant to this video. So let's get into it. But before we get into it, I'm just going to go over some key vocabulary words, which is going to be truth, and a lie. So basically, a truth, generally speaking, or as I'm going to define it when I'm using that word, is a notion or perception that is correct or based on some sort of facts, something that you can fact check, or reference to, and it's consistent information. Information is repeatable and generally consistent. And a lie is a notion or perception that is incorrect or based upon misleading or a misinterpretation of facts, which is basically, if simply put, besides you trying to intend to give someone incorrect notion, it could also be your own misunderstanding of something. So everyone, spoiler alert, the key element between truth and lies is that everything is the truth and a lie at the same time. That ties into the photo that I showed you guys earlier at the beginning of the video. There's nothing stranger than truth. So there's a chance that there's a truth behind this very statement itself. I'm spend the rest of the video explaining this. Alright, so you might be asking yourselves, how is this possible? One of the ways I believe this may be possible is the notion of specificity. So being specific is usually brought on by like the age of reason and such, is that there can be little to no doubt in one's actions or belief system and so forth. And in this notion can create a notion, the illusion of absolutes. So whether it be one's possible belief system or philosophies and so forth. What I mean by absolutes is that it creates something that's infallible, unchangeable, not malleable, not moldable whatsoever. It's fixed. With this potential fixed mindset, contradictions formed by paradoxes and other situations are looked down upon, like they shouldn't exist or they need to be solved, they have to be solved by any means necessary, rather than being a road in which you enhance your perspective. So as such, if these contradictions are frowned upon, it's going to limit one's perspective. So in a nutshell, this is possible because there are absolutes in a world that is relative. Now that we've established how it's possible, I'm going to explain how it occurs. But before I go into that, the notion of specificity and absolutes that I described earlier, the world's full of a diverse set of people. So it's different peoples and so forth. So one set of individuals may form their own degree of absolutes and so forth, while another set of individuals form their own, a differing set of absolutes and so forth. With that being said, this occurs via that there are different possibilities for events that occur and things within the world that we live in as a whole. So for instance, let's say I am looking at a particular event. Let's say two sports teams are going at it. The New York Knicks against the Los Angeles Lakers. And we're looking at a very serious game. Let's say it's the NBA Finals. You'd be like, okay, I'm putting my money on the Lakers. Whether you're a Lakers fan or not, you look at the statistics and so forth. There's a possibility that the Knicks can actually upset the Lakers. The odds may not be in their favor statistically and so forth, but you can, they can, in theory, win the championship if there's to go head to head for the chip. That is a possibility. However likely or unlikely it is. The percentage might be low or it might be high, depending on the statistics and so forth, or your perspective, but the possibilities are there. So there are different possibilities. As long as the percentage is not zero, which, if we're being honest, we can't fully determine that. We can, well, I shouldn't say that. We can make estimations with tools and so forth to get a better chance of knowing what the odds are, but it's still probability. Things that goes beyond our perceptions, understanding, and just anomalies that show up out of nowhere. This is where upsets and surprises happen. Move on to the next point, our perspective. Now this one is very important because our perspective is basically our own biases, our lens in which we see the world around us. So as such, the world has numerous things, more than I can even describe. It's beyond my understanding and so forth, and probably yours as well. But perspective is big because with that lens, it's going to focus in on what it can understand based on experiences and one's knowledge, your own knowledge base, and so forth. As such, it may block out something that someone else can see, whether their lens is wider because of experience, talent, whatever, what have you, all those combination of factors. So that's going to be very big. And then the next and last one is the intent. And when I say the intent, this is what I mean. Let's say you get information from a source. You get information from me, your teacher, your supervisor, your parents / guardians, or someone on the street passing out information. Generally speaking, or at least this is how I'm going to break it down. The intent can be in three main categories. It could be to inform someone, it can be to persuade, or it can be to deceive. Now, when you're usually being informed, typically speaking, it's usually it's supposed to at least be a neutral party, or at least there's little to no bias. You try to cut out as much bias as you can when you're giving that information. That may not always be the case. And usually if that's not the case, it's usually a persuasion. So if, let's say I'm giving you information to, it's swaying more towards one side, usually that's on the end of persuasion. So usually even if I tell you like good and bad about the particular thing I'm promoting or talking about, it's persuasion. And deceiving now is when, this is where misinformation comes in. My intent is not to, I might have my own perception of what's occurring or the truth or so forth, but my intent is to mislead you from the conclusion that I've drawn. Whether that conclusion is right or wrong, the conclusion, like if let's say I know behind this door, I know that's where the treasure is, or I think it's where it is, right? And you come to me and you come to me and you ask me, hey, what's behind that door? If my intent is to deceive you, I'm going to mislead you, send you on another trail. So because So if I think the treasure is behind that door, I pretty much deceived you and gave you misinformation. So this is how this occurs. So like I said, these three factors with respect to everything's the truth and a lie at the same time is very important for you to consider and possibly think about. Now I've talked about how it's possible and how it occurs. Now I'm going to give some recommendations as to how it can be done. Before I begin, if anyone has any thoughts, questions, or even comments with suggestions with respect to this subject matter, please feel free to do so. I'm more than willing to hear your opinion and so forth. Going into the topic, so what can be done? You can take an honest look at the vested interest of the messenger. So the vested interest is usually the intent of the messenger. What may they stand to gain from, what may they stand to gain from giving you the information, whatever that is. The next one is take an honest look at your own perspective, your own lens. This is your bias / perspective, limiting factor, if you will. So take that how you will. And then the last one is question as much of what you hear and see as you can, and come to your own conclusion to the best of your ability. Whether that means learning further on the topic, whether that means looking at different sources, and then considering the vested interests and taking a totality. Takes a lot of time, so if you don't have time, do the best you can. Look at different news sources, whatever, floats your boat. And that pretty much wraps up the video for today. The main goal of this channel is basically to get you, hopefully, I can get you thinking differently about or remind you of essential things that are overlooked in the day-to-day experiences. I know we're all busy, it's easy to get lost in all this stuff. Definitely not something to contemplate every minute, but maybe in your quiet moments every now and again, quiet things down and, consider these things. It might help you come up with, your own little thing, to take you outside of the madness that, that we experience every day. So basically, once again, the child's motto is reflection, which is basically, reflecting your own experiences of others that you see in the news around you and so forth. From there, you establish a framework. So what can I do better? What kind of plan of action can I make? And then, you don't stop there. You take action. So that framework that you made, you try it out, you test it out, and you see the results of that, and then you repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat pretty much. So after action, you go back to framework. This is something I made. You can make your own. If you made your own, then more power to you. If you like the content, just like the video. It helps the YouTube algorithm. Comment, and please subscribe if you like the content. Share with your friends. All right, you guys, take care. Have a good one.